Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
Okay, so this is not really related to the rest of the video, but it was so wild and related to Kevin Stefanski that I have to say something about it. I just have to say something about it in this video. So the rest of this video is about Kevin and his prospects in Atlanta. This first section, ironically enough, because the title of this video is the title of this video, Baker Mayfield had something to say about Kevin getting the job in Atlanta. As far as I know, this is Baker Mayfield. This is on his Twitter account. Now, maybe he got hacked or something happened, but this is on Baker's Twitter account. This is from D. Orlando Ledbetter, who he is quoting here. So first he says, this is an article for somebody who works for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Kevin Stefanski had a dumpster fire at quarterback in Cleveland. Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson failed, which started a chain reaction to 11 other starters. Shedeur Sanders closed out last season with 7 starts. Baker saw this and quote tweeted and said this, and this is verbatim. Failed is quite the reach, pal. Still waiting on a text or call from him after I got shipped off like a piece of garbage. Can't wait to see you twice a year, coach. Now, I don't think we were wondering if there was bad blood between Baker Mayfield towards Kevin Stefanski. I don't know if Kevin Stefanski feels any type of way towards Baker Mayfield, but we certainly could have guessed that Baker had bad blood towards towards Kevin Stefanski, right? He was not happy with how things broke down. That being said, my goodness. I mean, my goodness. There was certainly something that went wrong in that relationship. Again, I don't know what this means for Kevin's ability to do the Falcons job, but as far as just like talking about that, I felt like that had to be brought up because Baker and Kevin will be in the same division, and Baker and Kevin are going to be linked, much like Kevin and Shedeur are linked right now. And again, it just goes into something I talk about in this video where it's like, there's not a lot of goodwill for Kevin Stefanski right now. Falcon fans are upset about the Shedeur thing because of their connection to Dion. Dion has publicly endorsed some of the clowning on Kevin Stefanski on Instagram, by the way. Like somebody was clowning Kevin. I think it was DC Youngfly. And Dion was in there with the crying, laughing emojis. And now Baker Mayfield is taking his shot. He's not entering this job with a ton of goodwill right now. And I think that's probably why he shouldn't have taken a head coaching job. But I had to throw that in once I saw it. Unbelievable. Now we'll get back to the regularly scheduled video. Over the weekend, Kevin Stefanski took the job with the Atlanta Falcons. And a lot of people have asked me, what do I think of that, right? And if you've watched my coverage of the Cleveland Browns head coaching search, and when we talked about retread head coaches, guys who have had a job before, who are now looking for a second opportunity, you will know one of the key things I truly care about is looking past just the resume and focusing in on why it is that guy got fired from the job that he was at. Again, the resume is important. You want a guy with a good resume, a track record of success. Of course that matters, right? But the resume can't be the only thing that you go off of. That guy is available for a reason. You got to figure out why that guy is available and if those reasons are reasons that you can accept for what the purpose is for you hiring in that guy, right? If I'm trying to fix my offense and a coach with a great resume pops up, but he got fired because he can't fix his offense, he's probably not a great fit for what the Browns are trying to do. But a guy can get fired because maybe he didn't figure it out defensively, or maybe he struggled, was too reliant on one special teams coach, was too trustworthy of him, and that's what got him in the end. Or maybe he has an elite quarterback, and that elite quarterback hasn't been able to go through, get past the hump, and that's what got him. Maybe that aligns with the Browns in the future. Those are reasons you have to evaluate, right? You got to really, really look past the glamour of, oh, man, this guy won a bunch of games. Let's bring him in. This guy has 2 Coach of the Years. Let's bring him in. You got to look past the resume sometimes to understand why the guy got fired in the first place. Now, I'm not going to act like an expert on the Atlanta Falcons as a football team. Don't really know what was going on there. But first, you got to answer that question with Kevin. Does the reasons that Kevin got fired in Cleveland match up with why that opening is available in Atlanta? I'll explain what I mean by that and more, but real quick, let me thank my sponsor, Sleeper.
Real quick, just want to let you guys know Sleeper has a new offer here. They're offering a free $20 entry, no deposit required. And also, if you're a first-time user, you also will receive a 100% match on up to $100 when you use the promo code WORSTTAKE. Again, $20 free, no deposit required. Plus, first-time users also receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. Join Sleeper.
And that's where I find myself just much more skeptical of if this will work with Kevin in Atlanta. Because I think there are a lot of people, and ironically enough, like the people that I know who are Falcon fans aren't really happy about the hire, but it's for Shador-related reasons. It comes down to, do you think Kevin got fired in Cleveland for no reason, or do you think Cleveland had a reason to let Kevin go, right? If you are a Browns fan who think Kevin just got fired because he was the fall guy, you probably think Kevin's going to be amazing in Atlanta because you look at them, see a better offensive roster, and say to yourself, he's going to do great there. I fall into the camp of, hey, Kevin got fired for a reason. 2 years, 32 in expected points, not just 32, but if you combine both the years where he was 32 in expected points, he was minus 100 to 31. There was an acceptable level of bad offense that the Browns were going to put out because the roster wasn't amazing over the last couple of years. And then there's what the Browns produced offensively. And that's the thing. If Kevin just rolls in there, if people think Kevin's going to roll into Atlanta, run it back with a bunch of people he had in Cleveland, and have this great amount of success, I'm very skeptical of that. And that makes sense because I wasn't really a big proponent of the Browns bringing back Kevin for that exact reason. I think he has holes in his game as a coach that he's not going to solve while not thinking that there's not holes in that game. And if he goes out there and he runs it back with the same old staff and the same people and the same philosophy, I think there's a lot of room for bad outcomes in that situation for Kevin Stefanski. That, to me, is the part about all of this that has not been addressed. Is Kevin operating in a way that acknowledges that part of why he failed in Cleveland was his fault? Because I'm not getting that at all from him. If I were a Falcon fan and I had hired Kevin, all the Shador stuff that people are going to be upset at him about, and that's ironic to me, the stuff that has people in Atlanta low on Kevin is all the Shador stuff. I think legitimately Kevin's got a bad rap on that. I think he was more helpful towards Shador than people know. I think he wasn't this villain to the Shedeur story that some of the narratives have made him out to be. And I don't think at the end of the day, anything that he did with Shedeur was any part of the reason he got fired. Kevin got fired because he wasn't good at coordinating the offense anymore. Kevin got fired because he wasn't good at identifying coordinating talent and hiring that talent. Remember, Kevin is one of the worst track records of offensive, defensive, and special teams coordinators hires. The one coordinator hire that was successful in Cleveland was a Andrew Berry hire in Jim Schwartz. Kevin has a terrible track record with coordinator hires. His development record has not been great, either with quarterbacks or just young players in general. There are, of course, young players who are really good early on and they hit the ground running because they're pretty hard to mess up. But when we're talking about the guys who need to be developed, there's a gap here, right? When you look at the defensive side of the ball and what the defense has been able to do with third-round picks and fourth-round picks and fifth-round picks and UDFA guys, defense is getting good players out of day 3. They're developing good players. They're developing starters out of UDFAs. You look on the offensive side of the ball, we can't get one guy to get more than 12 targets drafted in the 3rd round, other than like Cedric Tillman, who might be decent if he were healthy. The development on that side of the ball has been lacking. He hasn't been a good coordinator hire guy. And if he goes in to this Atlanta job thinking like, I'm 2-time coach of the year, I don't have to change anything, Cleveland was why I sucked, and now that I'm out of Cleveland, it's going to be better. I don't know if that's going to be good. Like, yeah, he has Bijan, and Bijan will certainly cover up some of the holes in the run game, similar to what Nick Chubb did. But that offensive line that the Falcons have, not the Browns' 2020 offensive line that carried his offense early, still have a big question mark at the quarterback position. Michael Penix is the guy they invested draft picks in, but everybody involved with that decision has been fired. And then there's Kirk Cousins, who's also on the roster. So quarterback-wise, I mean, you're in a better position than Cleveland, certainly, but you're not really in a tangibly better position than Cleveland. Like, yeah, you're technically in a better spot because Michael Penix is better than probably the quarterbacks on the Browns roster, but it wouldn't take any of the quarterbacks on the Browns roster a huge jump to be better than Michael Penix. And that's like just what it is. Michael Penix hasn't been that good. So you got Kevin in a situation where he has to work with a young quarterback. He has to put together a young offense. These are all things he has not demonstrated himself to be good at. It's funny to me, again, the stuff that people are mad about with Kevin is the Shedeur stuff. I think that's overblown. But because everybody's so mad about the Shedeur stuff, what is getting overlooked with Kevin is the real reasons he got fired from Cleveland. Because right now, whenever you talk about Kevin, we're talking about Shedeur. It's actually helping him that people are so obsessed with Shedeur Sanders when his name pops up, because I think it's easy to dismiss the whole he sabotaged Shedeur and all that. That's easy to dismiss if that's what you think the holdup is with Kevin. But that's not the holdup with Kevin. We know that most people in Cleveland know that all the Shedeur stuff was bullshit. It wasn't the big problem with Kevin. The big problem with Kevin is the nuts and bolts, his ability to coordinate an offense, his ability to coordinate a staff. Again, he's not terrible. I don't want to paint out the impression that I think Kevin Stefanski is terrible and will never be successful. Certainly not what I think. I think Kevin can be a good coach. I think Kevin would have been better off not taking a job this cycle. I think Kevin would have been better off taking a job that allowed him to learn from his mistakes. Kevin will be a good coach one day, but he does have to learn from his mistakes. You know, the Baker Mayfield parallels keep piling up with Kevin Stefanski, right? I remember when Baker Mayfield was at the end of his rope in Cleveland, the Browns had traded for Deshaun Watson, and we were trying to figure out what Baker's next step was. One of my suggestions for Baker Mayfield at the time which Baker stands did not like, but I think I was right, was that Baker Mayfield should consider being traded to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to back up Tom Brady for a year. Because it had become clear to me that Baker would benefit from a gap year, that he had struggled with things that continuing to play was not going to impact in a positive way. And lo and behold, he goes to Carolina, he tries to be a starter, and his career sinks to depths that we had not seen before. Because he had not learned anything from the experience in Cleveland when he landed in Carolina. Now, after he got cut from Carolina and he landed in Los Angeles, some of those experiences started to sink in because they had to. That's how I kind of feel about Kevin. If Kevin goes into this Falcons job, ironically enough, another NFC South job, right? Again, the parallels are just uncanny. And he thinks that his shit don't stank and that he got fired from Cleveland because he's a victim of a conspiracy, ironic enough. Guess what, man? He's not going to be good. He's going to have the same issues with offense. Maybe not to the same extent. But he's going to have similar issues on offense that he had in Cleveland. If he goes in there and he's not really thinking about what he did wrong or the mistakes that he made. And just looking at how this staff is shaping up for him in Atlanta, it sure smells of that variety. It sure smells of that variety. That he feels like he just needs to run it back one more time and he'd be all right. I hope he's right because I like Kevin the person. I like Kevin as a coach. But I don't know if jumping back into the job market this early was a good idea. I do think that what's being ignored behind all of the Shador stuff that he's surrounded with is the actual reasons he got fired in Cleveland. And if you're not ignoring those reasons, you have to look at what he's trying to do there, and you have to ask yourself, okay, did he learn anything? I think Kev, once he has learned, hey, I have limitations as an offensive mind. I need to trust people more with the coordination of this offense. I need to look for people who are more forward thinking than me to run this and more willing to get outside the box here. I think that Kevin going to be a good coach. But if it's Kevin, I still think I am the arbiter and the genius of the offense, I think you're going to run into issues because the issues were real with him in Cleveland. Might be a perfect storm for somebody to have their issues be ignored because, again, the Shador cloud and then the fact that it's the Browns that let him go, nobody's going to think seriously about it. But I think people should. But that's my thoughts. People ask me my thoughts about Kevin leaving the Browns and joining the Atlanta Falcons. That's kind of my take on it. I'm interested to see how this goes. You know, I'm skeptical that it'd be successful, but let's see how it works out. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.